Good afternoon, everyone. Man, it's hot. Good afternoon, good evening. We will come together now for our Hamblen County Legislative Body Committee meetings. First order of business, before you should have an open enrollment that is due back to our Human Resources Manager, Wendy Williams. If you would please take note of that and get that in due time. It doesn't matter if you have any changes or not, this form needs to be completed and turned in each year. Is that good?
If you're not getting any insurance, it still needs to.
Well, yes, sir. There's a thing where you waive that right. If you don't want it, there is something you need to sign that you have waived that coverage. If everyone would turn your mics on, let's remember etiquette and address the chairman of each committee as we get started. Is that good? All right, we'll open up now. Let's go to our first order of business. Chairman Horner of the Justice Center Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'll call the Justice Center Public Safety Committee to order. Anyone wishing to address may do so at this time. You'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, item 3A, old business, none. Item 4A, Justice Center project update, Tony Pettit with Burwell Construction.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Construction weather we've had lately. Our contract status, the contract to date through change order 14 is $93,254,695.16. The project's billed to date $62,542,061.16, which is 67% complete, 67.07. Of that, billed to date is stored materials on-site, off-site, $8,872,500 of stored material. Work in place, therefore, is $56,669,561, which is 61%. The work in progress, a lot going on inside now. The mason's laying block. If you drive around, you'll see it on the Sally Port where they take intake for the main detention hall. You're seeing the steel rise up from for the Justice Center in front. Wait on some pictures here. Oh, I'm in control. There you go. So, what the steel you're seeing now is the steel for the Justice Center. Too quick. So, and what you can't see is a lot going on inside. Masons are laying downstairs, working their way up through. There's a detention contractor that works for the general contractor. He's working on security frames and security barriers inside. The concrete contractor's working, pouring security tops on holding cells and miscellaneous concrete throughout the building. HVAC, plumbing, and electrical are doing roughing. Like for the ductwork, the low voltage is on site roughing in. Plumbers are roughing in on the project all over, and electricians doing the same. So there's a lot of stuff going inside that's coming along pretty well. There is one issue that we're trying to work through right now. If you can just barely see it, it's better in a higher resolution. Can y'all see that on your monitors? Mm-hmm. That's all right. So you'll see that little yellow circle there, and it's called a dropout, and we say that because we don't like the word sinkhole. So there's a dropout there that they had August the 3rd, and on that dropout, they asked the geotechnical guy, and he works for us, what to do about it. And he said pour it with 3,000 concrete flowable fill, which is a real low viscosity concrete fill to kind of choke it off. In September, after a bunch of rain, it opened back up again. So then we asked Geo Services again, the geotechnical engineer, if he wanted to address it. And he said, yeah, he wants to do a grout compaction and capping method. And we're going to proceed with that. And what that'll involve, he'll have to get, the general contractor will have to go and solicit 3 proposals from people for we want at least 3, there may be more than that, for a proposal to grout compact and cap off this area to prevent it from having a further development of sinkholes in the future. So we're still trying to resolve that. And hopefully after that, that'll be the last of the site issues that we have here. So not a very big area, but it's worth addressing, because we don't want it to creep up and get us later. Any questions? Yep, that's the update.
Okay. If there's no more questions, item 4B, the change order number 15. Tony?
I have a question, please.
Sure.
I notice it says added, bear with me, shall, space, courtroom, add.
Excuse me, Commissioner Green, let's let him talk about it first.
Okay.
And then
I
we'll.
thought he'd asked
then
for
we'll-
questions. I
He's
apologize.
asking questions about the update, not the change order yet.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. There's 5 items on the change order here. And the change orders change the contract. So the first item is way back when we were still on the slab foundation, we had to get some conduit in for communications. And we did that on time and material. He kept his time, and he finally submitted all that. It's been checked by the architect, checked by me, checked by the contractor, and that resulted in $15,719 for some conduit to come into the building for your telephone, low voltage, internet, etc. That had to come into the building. Second item was during the submittal process, we started discussing, and the contractor and the architect decided that there was not a need for the smoke exit signs. I'm on the wrong change order. Let me step back up. Sorry. 4 things. Okay, so the first one was the exit deletion of the day rooms. This will make more sense now.
Yes.
So we determined that we didn't need, and we checked it with TCI, Tennessee Code, Tennessee Correction Institute. Thank you. And we didn't need these exit signs in the day rooms. So that credited back where we got to delete all those of about $7,500, $74.78, in case you think I'm looking at the wrong change order again. And then the communications portion of this is the inside communications that I was talking about in change order 14. And this was to get out of the entrance where the exterior came into the building back into the IT room, the internet, all the stuff comes into the IT room. And this is the most economical route. We talked about taking it over and through the walls and stuff, but this is underground, so that was a change add of $88.50. And then I'm going to skip to the last one, and that's we had to add 2 water pressure release valves, water pressure reducing valves, and for the system. And this came about, they're expensive. I hated to hear this when it came up, but when the designers originally talked to the city utility company, they were told of the water pressure being here, here, and here. Then we checked that. Our Blaine's plumbing contractor checked it, and he said there were some very, very widely fluctuations on the water pressure, and it was best to try to get these water reducer valves in to control the spikes that you would encounter with your water. So we had to add those. There are two of them. I think they're 2 4-inch ones. The backup should be, and that's $20,000, $19,429 for adding those 2 water reducer valves. Now, is there any questions on those 3?
No questions?
Okay. So now I'm going to move to the shell space in the courtroom addition. I'm going to let the mayor talk about that, and I'll be on standby if you need questions from me.
Okay,
Big.
back in March, we presented the request to finish the 3rd courtroom in the Justice Center. We had, I guess, determined, we being the staff and trustee, and that we would have money in interest earnings to be able to finish the 3rd courtroom, and then talking to the judges and the clerks, that the pros were greater than the cons as far as finishing that courtroom, and that would make it much more efficient for the court system, and while we had the money to do it, that it would be advantageous to do that. So we presented that to you in March. You approved to go ahead with the design, and then get a cost estimate from the contractor. What the spaces we're talking about are on your screen and on the big screen, the yellowed in space. The big space is the juvenile courtroom. That's Judge Simkowski's courtroom. Right now he holds court in this room. And so the 3rd courtroom will be his. And that's where he will do juvenile court and also hold General Sessions Division 2. And then up at the top of the screen there is the Sheldon space that we did in the redesign, and it will be finished for office space, but primarily what it'll be used for is the arraignment hearings, where Judge Collins will have one of his staff to arraign defendants on their charges, and that will allow him to go on with his docket, and that could save him a couple of hours. And so that is what we anticipate that space will be used for. When you rough in a space, and Tony, you correct me, when you rough in a space, you've got walls, floors being concrete, no ceiling, no duct work. So that's what we're talking about as far as the infrastructure. And if we didn't finish out these spaces, that's what we would have. And so what we're doing is finishing both of these spaces. Now, let's see, go to that. Now, what we presented in March was an estimated cost of, let's see, right at $1.5 million, $1,549,574. So that was the estimated cost estimated by Mosley at the time. With the amount that you see on the change order of $1,035,051 for the construction of the 2 spaces, and then the design, the change to Mosley's contract for the design work was $80,704. That leaves us over $400,000 for what we call the FF&E, which is the furniture, the fixtures, and the equipment. And what the design includes, what the $1 million includes, is when you look at the picture on the left, that's the court area. And then there's some benches, some pews for the public seating, and then there's a wall. And then it's divided into a waiting area. In juvenile court, you can only hear one case at a time, and only people involved in that case can be in that courtroom. So what we're doing is you have one case in juvenile court, everybody else is waiting in this other area. And so we'll have public seating in there, and then those two corner areas on the right of that space will be attorney meeting spaces where clients can meet with their attorneys, whether it be during Sessions Court Division II, which is collections court, and attorneys can meet with folks they're trying to collect from, or whether it be juvenile, and they meet with the families and the juveniles. So what we know is in the change order, the $1,035,000 is for the construction part. The design cost is $80,000, and then we'll have $433,000 for FF&E, and that should more than be enough to take care of what we've been talking about. Tony and Gino and I have been working on the furniture for the whole complex, and we worked, 3 or 4 afternoons on counting chairs and tables and benches and all that kind of thing, and we think that that will be plenty for this space, for these two spaces. So so that's the cost. A budget of about $1.5 million is the budget for the project. Now, what we presented in March is that we would pay for it with interest income that we're earning on the bond funds, on the money that we're holding. We issued all the bonds at one time, and which was the wise thing to do. You guys made the right decision there, and we got a lower interest rate because interest rates have gone up since then significantly. So we've been earning interest. Those interest rates have gone up too during this period. And so we anticipated back in March that we would finish, at the end of July, we would finish with about $2 million in interest for a project of about $1.5 million. When in fact what we did is we finished with about $2.3 million in interest income at the end of July, and now at the end of September we're holding $2.7 million in interest income. So that's money we're holding, money in the bank, money we have, and there's one liability that we have. Because of the length of the project, we haven't been able to spend the bond funds down by a certain time period that the IRS requires, and it's called an arbitrage calculation, where we're going to have to probably pay some of the interest earnings back to the IRS. And so we've contracted with a firm that specializes in that, and they're going to do that calculation for us, and we should know. But we don't anticipate that it'll be a significant amount of money. We have 3 bond issues. One of them was spent according to the timeline, and then a couple of them weren't, and most of it was because of the rebid. When we rebid, it just extended everything about 6 months. So I guess bottom line for this is what you have in front of you is the change order. This is from the presentation made in March, where we talked about the steps. We had the construction plans prepared. We got the cost estimate from Blaine, and then the change order would need to be adopted by you, and that's where we are today. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, if I understand you correctly, this won't increase the cost to the citizens of Hamblen County. The interest paid for every dime of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What does that put our total as of right now that we were out for the jail?
When you say out, what do you mean?
Well, total that we've got earmarked, planned, ever how you want to put it. The last time that I listened, I'm thinking it was $103 million. So I'm just trying to figure out how far off of it we are, being we started out at $75 million.
Well, when the commission voted to proceed with the contract, the total package, soft cost, construction cost, right at 104 million. This will take it to 105, over 105.
Is that going to change anything in our tax system otherwise as far as the citizens of Hamblen County?
Not for this project, no. Not for the brick and mortar project,
Do you
construction part of it.
Okay. Do you foresee, one more question, and then I'll leave you in peace on this. Do you foresee, the last time we had a discussion in regard to staff increase for the jail, they were talking about, well, an extensive expense. Do you foresee that coming and us having enough to cover it without an increase otherwise?
I think that'll be something that we'll discuss at that time, but I would not go into budget season next May thinking that we would not have to generate some more revenue or raise taxes, whatever you want to call it, to staff the jail. I wouldn't go into the process thinking that you wouldn't have to.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion on the change order number 15? A motion, Mr. Huntsman?
Joe Huntsman's motion.
There, second? Second.
Rodney,
Rodney?
excuse me, Commissioner Long.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One no. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Horner of the Justice Center of Public Safety. We'll now move into, see Mr. Pettit? We'll now move into our Finance Committee meeting. Chairman Hahn, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll call our Finance Committee to order. Anyone wishing to address this committee may do so at this time.
Mike John Cox, 3121 Three Springs Road, Whitesburg. I just want to talk about the wheel tax. Notes here. I sent out an email, and basically, I feel like I'm being double taxed. And I know, being a motorcycle owner, and having a truck, and having another car, I'm not the only one in this room that has multiple vehicles. I just don't see that as fair. And that's one of the things I heard was we got to be fair. I was glad to see an amendment last time of $10 for motorcycles. I think that was a little low. I would like to see my commissioner or another commissioner submitted an amendment for motorcycles of 3/4 of the $23, $17, $18. That would cover any 2 wheels or 3 wheels. We don't do the damage to the road that y'all do. I don't know of anybody that's strictly only a motorcycle driver does not have a vehicle. I just still say I feel like we're being double taxed. I believe there needs to be some compromise, and I will say, you know, they compromised up on Capitol Hill last week. If they can do it, why can't you guys do it? It doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposal. Another thing, I still say that the most fairest is to charge, if you want to charge $23, if that's what you're going to do it, then next year when you go and register a vehicle, you sign an affidavit of your mileage that you have drove. And if you are a low mileage driver like myself, I'm retired. I'm lucky if I put 2,000 miles a year on my motorcycle, but I enjoy it. If you drive, you know, have the maximum amount, and then if you drive less, then you would be billed less. You know, it'd still be a win-win for everybody. I just think you all need to be a little more open-minded. I hate to say it, but I'm really sad that a lot of my neighbors, people I've talked to, have no idea of this wheel tax. Because I don't read the Citizen Tribune. You know, I mean, I read it. I come here, I'll read the complaints on some of the website or the Facebook groups, the websites and stuff. But it's just a shame that nobody really knows. And have any of you ever really let your constituents know what's going on? What's you're deciding for us? You know, I think we're in the blind too much, and I just wish there'd be a little more open-mindedness and openness on this whole thing. And I thank, you know, for the ones that have replied back to me, I
Thank you for your comments. We
you.
appreciate it. Anyone else wish to address the committee?
Gwendolyn Holden, 8150 West Point Drive. We got people that have worked here in this town and lived in this town all their life. That includes me. We work minimum wage. We didn't work up north and make money and come back down here to live. We have meager supply. When we retire, our Social Security is not as high as the people that live up north, that where the southern people work down here for minimum wage. I know, I'm one of them. And I think you all should consider people that are on Social Security that draw $700 a month, $800 a month. That's not much money. And some of them don't have a husband or a wife to help them. And I think you all should consider those people. They have to worry about their food or their medicine. It's a shame. We just press them. We just keep pressing the poor. We press them every day. And it's a shame. I know God's not pleased with it. And I'm sure not.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to address the Finance Committee?
Linda Noe, Joe Stevens Road. I'd like to echo and actually add to what was just been said. The fairest tax of all would be no tax. You have the money to pave roads. You have at least $2.2 million that you could have pulled this year, but you didn't. Although you did vote for the mayor to pull $1.9 million for the jail that we've just seen. But somehow you think it would be awful to pull money for paving, which is what we need desperately. So why do we sit here talking about, oh, what would be the fair thing to do when the money is there? The fair thing would be to take the money that's there and do exactly what the mayor did and what you said, way to go, Mayor, and take that money, that sales tax money that you have, and I know you can't do it now, but you can wait a few months, budget it into the next budget, and take out property tax money, $2.2 million, or it very likely could be more than that next year. The other option would be, in terms of being fair, would be let the people vote on this. What is the problem? I haven't heard anybody say why they won't let the people vote. I've seen you vote and say, no, I'm not going to listen to the people. I'm not going to let them vote. There's an election Super Tuesday, March 2024, just a few months away, and you could let the people of your district vote if you want to hear their vote. You went to their houses, you sent mailers, you asked for their vote. This is the ultimate test, whether you will let the people in your district vote on this. And that would allow more information to go out as well. So I ask that you vote no on the wheel tax increase. Consider putting it on a referendum, or consider simply waiting until your 24 budget, your 24-25 budget. And take a look, because I was at the city, the sales tax is going through the roof. Much more than this $20 million that was projected this year.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the Finance Committee? We'll move on. Our recurring business, we have our expenditure reports and our monthly checks. They are in your package. You can take a look at those. We move, no old business, so we'll move down to number 5, new business. 5A, our wheel tax. And we'll open the floor, commissioners, for discussion on the new wheel tax. I think we've discussed it. We're ready to move on. Item 5B, opioid abatement fund update. Yes.
I'd like to say something about the wheel tax.
Okay.
And you know, we keep discussing this and talking about different ways to do this. Everybody's counting on sales tax and what we need to do with sales tax, okay? But what we're not understanding is the wheel tax is there not only for people that use our roads. It's for the vehicles that are in Hamblen County, okay? I understand your point about the motorcycle. I've told you that. I ride motorcycles myself. But if we start saying, well, you don't ride that motorcycle that much, so therefore you shouldn't have to pay the same wheel tax as everybody else because you ride a motorcycle. How about the people that have 4 or 5 cars? Do we say that second, third, fourth car that they own, that's a choice that they've made to have that many vehicles? Okay? We're making this too complicated with everybody. Okay? I mean, in a realistic world, should we have raised wheel tax $10 4 years ago, $10 8 years ago? Would we be having this discussion today about $27 wheel tax? No, because we let it go up in increments. Go back to when wheel tax first started and we started paying $23. What $23 was then is not even equivalent to
27.
27.
23 is now. Yeah.
Okay? What $27 was then is not even met up with inflation when we're raising this to $23 more to go to $50. We're not even bringing it up to inflation. Really, we should be saying we need to raise wheel tax even higher than what we did. I mean, we're having to make a tough decision. But we have to make these decisions. That's the problem that we keep facing here, is nobody wants to just make the decisions and move on. We have to do that. And I'm sorry, but I believe that our county needs this wheel tax. I think we need to continue on with this wheel tax. And hopefully next year we don't have to raise it even more. And if there is more money because of sales tax, then we'll fight that issue and get more money on the paving roads. But we just need to, you know, just move on with this, people, and go on.
Thank you, Commissioner Walker.
Chairman Hahn,
Yes, Ms. Green.
may I speak?
Yes, you may.
First of all, I saw the facts and the amounts. We have enough in there to do this and make a bigger impact than what the wheel tax will do. As late as you are starting this, it's certainly not going to be enough to make an impact as far as the roads. I know the former commission did not allot any money to this, and that's on them. They failed to do their jobs as far as the roads. And I apologize to you if it's too blunt, but truth's truth. Next thing, there's money there. Why not use what's there? I'm no doubt in my mind the sales tax is out the roof. And if we doubt that, we have Scotty here today, and he can give us that amount as to what it's up to right now. We won't have to guess. We won't have to wonder. There is money there to do a bigger impact, get our roads done. Our roads are pitiful. I've be the first to tell you it'd shake a devil out of you going down the road unless you got fantastic shocks. And most of us do not have fantastic shocks. But this wheel tax, there was a lady at the last meeting that presented a copy of her bank statement of what she drawed a month. It was less than what we pay Chairman Cutshaw a month to be chairman. And she, at that point, was wondering how she could do this between her groceries, paying her mortgage for a home, and her property taxes, not counting what medical co-pays she would have as a disabled person. We need to look at other alternatives. I know most of you don't look at it like we do. Most of you make a large paycheck compared to some of our citizens that are drawing Social Security. So, for God's sakes, please consider what we can do without doing this. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wants to address the committee, commissioners? Okay, we do thank you for your comments and your input. We'll move on to item 5B, opioid abatement fund update. Mr. Mayor.
In your packet, if you'll turn to the memo I prepared, and we can talk a little bit about that. Recently, you may have seen in the news about the
Food City.
Yeah, the Food City settlement, where Hamblen and most all the East Tennessee counties, and then some in Middle Tennessee, will get a direct payment from Food City, and then over the next 5 years get some money from the state that flows through the state. So, and then next year, there's expected to be a settlement. Terms of the settlement with Walmart and CVS and Walgreens, and a payment made early next year, direct payment from those, and then more payments through the years. And right now we have about $1 million in the bank in the opioid abatement fund, and so we've spent some money on transitional housing, on the treatment facility in the Tri-Cities that we are a part of with the Baby Doe money, and some other small things with the scanning machine that's in the body scanner that's in the jail, and so that's kind of where we are right now. I did an analysis, not knowing what's going to happen with the pharmacies. I did an analysis, and without that figure, we'll be receiving about $150,000 to $160,000 a year in annual payments for 18 years. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. We've got the $1 million in the bank, then we'll get the $129,000 from Food City next year, early next year. Then we'll get another lump sum from the pharmacies early next year. Then it'll start on the annual payments, and so that's kind of what the flow will be like. What I've done is I've appointed a committee to review. I'm starting to receive inquiries from various agencies that deal with opioid abatement, prevention, treatment, housing, those kinds of things, and so. A recommendation from the State Abatement Council is that communities appoint a review committee. And the committee that I've appointed is Judge Collins, Commissioner Ahern, Jerry Wagner, who's the retired executive director of the McNabb Center, who knows this community well, and Barbara Horton, who is now our grants coordinator working out of the mayor's office. But she was our former director of the Recovery Court and was director of the treatment center downtown before it became part of McNabb Center. So those, and then myself, so those 5 people will be the ones who review the requests and then bring them to you for appropriation. So that's the game plan that I've put together on how to manage these funds. There's one request that's before you tonight, and that's from the Substance Abuse Coalition. And their mission, the Substance Abuse Coalition, their mission is to try to educate our young people and adults as well on, I guess, the harm of substance abuse and vaping and opioid use. And so they've got a couple of events in November, one for middle school, one for high school, that they have submitted for funding. And so I'll bring that to you tonight to consider. Also in your packet is the results of a survey that the Substance Abuse Coalition did within our school system, the 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, and just talk about their exposure to drug use and who's used, who hadn't used, how often do they use, what do they use, and that's all in that handout. But what I guess I'm asking for a decision on is whether to fund the $7,350 for these events. They'll be free of charge to the children who come, and they'll hear a presentation on drug use, and vaping is a big issue in the schools now, and so they'll hear some information on that as well, and then be able to skate and have a good time at the same time.
Chairman Hahn,
Questions?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, that money we're talking about for the Substance Abuse Coalition, that comes out of our opioid abatement
Correct.
fund. Okay, just
Correct.
clarifying that. And I'd like to
Thank you.
make a motion that we do so.
Okay, we have a motion to fund this.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Reed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Move down to 5C.
Now, may I ask the mayor a question about that fund, please?
Sure, go ahead. I'm sorry. I should have let you.
You are fine, sir. Mayor Britton, is that money, is it set what it has to be spent for?
Some of it is restricted and some is not. The money we have left over from the Baby Doe case up in the Tri-Cities, that first $1.8 million that we received, which we bought the 2 houses for our recovery court, and we paid to the treatment facility in the Tri-Cities, came out of that money. So the money that's left, I think it's around $300,000, is not restricted. There is about $70,000 a year that we receive directly from, we have received directly so far from the distributors, which is not restricted. Any money that comes through the state is restricted funds. And so, to answer your question, part's restricted and part is not.
If it's unrestricted, can we spend it just anywhere?
Any way you want to.
Okay, so why could we not put that toward paving?
I mean, this is my suggestion, or my thoughts on it is, this money needs to be used for the fight against drug abuse, and because that's why we've got the money.
We do have quite a bit of it. I'll certainly agree with you on that.
Expenses that we have and have had in the jails, in the court system. I mean, pretty much all crime is drug related. It's just my opinion. That money some counties have used it all for other things, but my opinion is we use it for drug treatment and drug prevention.
Mr. Neesmith?
Looks to me like you should have restricted to start with. You wouldn't be going through this. Can you use it for paving, use it for buying a lawnmower and all that? Why don't you just restrict it if that's what it's for drug abuse? Use it for that. When you get the money, let the county commission restrict it. It's to be used for nothing but for drug deal.
I have proposed nothing other than to use it for drug rehabilitation or drug treatment.
'Cause you're right, that's why we got it.
I agree.
Because of dope. We need to keep it. We need to restrict everything we get from this overload for drugs.
No, we certainly have a need for it, so there, yeah, we need more. Anyone else have anything to add? We're down to item 5C. We have a resolution for broadband-ready community resolution. Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me, Chairman Hahn, we did not vote totally on that motion in second, I don't think. Did we?
We did not. You're correct.
Let's do that.
Okay, I need a motion.
We did the
We
motion
did
in
the motion and
second.
second. We didn't vote. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The broadband ready.
Okay, the Tennessee Department of Economic Community Development is last week, put 3 different grant programs out on the street for communities to apply for. And the purpose of these grants is to not necessarily build broadband infrastructure. That money came out a year, 2 years ago. This is to expand the use of broadband, whether it be classes to teach people how to use it, whether it be public access to broadband, like hotspots located throughout the community, whether it be classes for seniors or classes for young people or various other ideas. That's what the purpose of these grants are for. For us to participate in one of the grants, which would give us, it's a non-competitive grant, it's $100,000, we have to be designated a broadband-ready community. And so this resolution, this first resolution, that's what it does, is you as a county commission, toward the bottom of it says, be it resolved that the legislative body, that the county through its economic workforce development policies and procedures will encourage expansion of broadband infrastructure and job skills needed to attract companies and individuals to the county to live, to work, and to raise a family. We had a discussion last week with the state. This language fits what we need to submit to the state to be able to qualify for the Broadband Ready grant, which is one of these that we'll talk about in a minute.
Need a motion? Thank you, Mr. Richardson. We need a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Harville. Thank you. Any discussion or questions for the mayor? We have none, so we'll vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes.
All right, thank you. Next is the Broadband Ready Communities Grant, and this is a $100,000 grant. Each county has been allocated $100,000 if they are a broadband ready community. And again, the purpose of it is to give it a community, its citizens, help give them access to broadband if they don't have access to it, knowledge on how to use it, and whether it be for applying for jobs or job skill training or education. And so I've scheduled meetings with Ola Lakeway, Girls Incorporated, Boys and Girls Club, to talk to them about what could they provide as far as educational programs for this grant money. And then I've also got a meeting with Morristown Utilities about to talk about hotspots within the community where we could have, for example, at the Oak Tree Plaza Shopping Center where we're going to put the health department is, we could have a hotspot out in the parking lot, and children who don't have internet at home who need access for homework could pull into the parking lot, or have their parents pull into the parking lot and they can get access. And we'd have to have all the safety, all the security measures in place, and that's why having the conversation with Morristown Utilities. But different locations like that. The parks, we could do that at Cherokee Park. I've talked to the Parks and Rec Department with the City of Morristown. They're interested for 2 or 3 of their parks to have broadband access. So we could do all that through this grant program. So I'm just asking for you to approve us applying for the grant.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Long, do I have a second? Mr. Richardson, thank you. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, where does the school system fit in this?
Well, I haven't talked to them yet, but we could do it in some of their parking lots.
I asked because, we went through this with COVID a couple of years ago where
Yes.
we had to have, they were doing online everything. And we found many children didn't have it at home, and a lot of these problems have already been discussed and talked about through the school system. That's why I asked.
Have anyone else? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
The next resolution in your packet is resolution authorizing to apply for a Connected Community Facilities Grant. And what this is money that's available through the state to build buildings, renovate space where classes, they've got 3 areas where they want, the state wants emphasis on, and it's digital workforce development. So computer skills, teaching computer skills, learning computer skills to be used in the workforce, virtual health monitoring or telehealth, use for telehealth, virtual education, and then broadband access. This grant, I'm interested in this grant. We discussed this with the state and using this grant in conjunction with the grant that we're receiving from the State Department of Health for the new health department, and that we could use some monies to pay for or add to the money we receive from the state for the build out of the health department space area where they use telehealth area where they educate mothers and do other online education. We could add that to the money that we're receiving from the state for that. Also, we could use it to, and there's also a community room in their design that the money can be used to pay for the build out of this community room that they want, that the community would have access to and would have Wi-Fi and classes could be taught and those kind of things. Also, we, in our concept for this shopping center, we talked about finishing out 9,000 to 10,000 square feet for county space. And one idea is to move Ag Extension out there, and they're open to that. And they do a lot of education in their programming. They have a need for a meeting space that would hold about 50 people, and then some more meeting space for about 20 to 30. And so this grant, and I've talked to Manny Bedwell last week about it, and this grant would help build out that space and so would reduce our cost. There is a 20% match. Exactly how much that match would be, we don't know yet. We don't know how much money we're going to apply for yet. The maximum is $2 million. But what we have to do is get with the architect for the project and just see exactly how many square feet they've got penciled in for different functions for the health department. And then I've talked to Manny about space for his function, and then we've got other space that we could finish out too. So this again is just a request to apply for this grant, which I think can help reduce our cost in building out the health department space.
Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Reed, second. Mr. Harville. Any discussion or questions for the mayor? We'll vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Item 5F, 1, Fund 101, County Clerk's Office, $4,200. Mr. Dennis Fox.
This budget amendment is for the county clerk's office for the purchase of new office chairs. Funds for this purchase will be taken from the county clerk's restricted vehicle title fees account and moved into their office equipment line.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cutchild. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Harville. Any questions for Mr. Fox? Now let's vote the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5F2, Fund 101, County Clerk's Office, $3,350. Mr. Fox.
This budget amendment is also for the county clerk's office for the purchase of 2 scanners. Funds for this purchase will be taken from the county clerk's restricted automation account and moved into their vendor processing equipment.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Reed, do I have a second?
Mr. Huntsman.
Mr. Huntsman. Mr. Huntsman's, yes, very good. Thank you, sir. Any discussion or questions? We'll vote the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Fox. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Hahn.
Yes.
Did you vote the motion on the wheel tax?
That was just for discussion purposes.
Okay, just discussion, okay. I just want to make sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Just to have, go ahead, Chairman Hahn, you're being addressed.
Yes.
quick question. I know it's not brought up, but the county attorney invoices, we didn't have those in our packets. We did see whether there was money expensed. I found at least 2 figures, but we don't have invoices to match to know what they were for. How did they write checks without an invoice?
I don't have the monthly report yet.
But you don't have the invoices yet?
I don't, no, I'm not gonna answer that because I don't.
What you're
work in
looking at,
finance.
it's for the invoices.
But we don't have the invoices for those, correct?
No, we do,
Okay.
and that's why the bill check, you pay the invoice.
Thank you, sir.
That got you?
That got me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Clarification on, for Commissioner Walker on the wheel tax, that was for discussion, and we have our second reading on the 1019, more discussion, and, okay. All right, moving on, we will now move into the Personnel Committee. I will call on Chairman or Vice Chair Stan Harville tonight.
Call the Personnel Committee to order. Any visitors wishing to address this committee, you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we have no old business, new business, approval of education pay submissions. You see that there. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Walker.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hom. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Harville. We'll now move into the RV Camper Study Committee. Chairman Long, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Call this committee to order. Is anybody wishing to address this committee at this time? Seeing none, some of you wasn't here in the special call meeting on the 14th, and I want to just highlight something. We met on the 14th, and we showed was shown a PowerPoint by Mr. Tom McKinney of the campers and RVs across the county. I think it opened up the eyes to a lot of us, the scope of the problem that we have. We also discussed the regulations that we have now that does not allow campers to be used as residential. And so we discussed further about the definition of a recreational vehicle. And I'm going to read what we had sort of looked at. We defined a recreational vehicle as a travel trailer, motor home, camping trailer, or other similar vehicle which is occupied temporary for residence or vacation purposes. We also discussed that if you took a school bus and converted it, and under the scope of that, of other similar vehicles, I think would cover that. But tonight, I think we need to look at discussing the definition of the recreational vehicle. And then I think as a committee, we need to look at which route we're going, whether we stay with the rules that we have, regulations we have on the books now, or if we make another change for this. Any way we go, we're going to have issues on either side of it to deal with. So I would just open up the floor on the definition of recreational vehicles for discussion to see if that needs to be changed, how we state it, or otherwise. Is everyone all right with that definition?
I'll make a motion that we accept the definition as Rodney's read it.
Do I have a second? Second. Let's do a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, let's clarify. We have a motion by Commissioner Long, a second by Commissioner Richardson.
Motion was by Walker.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
Commissioner
You said Long.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Walker made the motion, Commissioner Richardson has second. And for clarification, was there one no vote or more than one?
I think I was it.
That's why I asked, just to make sure.
Thank you.
Chairman Long?
Okay. Now I think it's up to the committee of what direction that we proceed forward. Like I said, there's many items on each side, so I would open up for a discussion of how this committee feels.
I'll start with something, with these rules, obviously we've got many instances in our county as our code enforcement officer showed us. And you know, once we walk into this, it opens up, every step we make, it opens up more. I was in discussion with our state representative recently, one of our state representatives of Hamblen County. There is something that may come from the state at some point, but we don't know when that may be. And it involves all of East Tennessee, basically. Everybody's dealing with this. But Hamblen County as a leader, you know, we've got to take care of Hamblen County. We've got, Commissioner Ahern made this point, we've got 65,000 residents at night. We've got, I don't know how many, less than 1,000 affecting the rest. So we've adopted this definition. Now, what do we do with those that are outside the rules? How do we deal with that with those that are living in them? They quote unquote, I'm living in it just for the weekend or using it for recreation. That's what it's designed to do. If it's hooked up right, it's recreation. Or someone that's obviously living in it. You know, is there a difference in that? I'm just opening up an idea. I support the definition, but it also causes a reaction. Do we allow a permit for such things? You have a permit to live in this or to use it for recreational use. You know, do we do that? When it's outside of a campground or a mobile home park, do we allow, by permit, someone to use it for recreational use on their hunting land? You see what I'm saying? It's set up, it's, you know, something like that. Or do we allow someone that's outside of our rules, give them a permit to give them, right now we allow 12 months for someone building a home, I believe is right. We give them a permit, they can live in that camper while they're building. That's with a building permit. But what about someone that's going to be displaced with this new rule? Do we give them an opportunity? You know, we give them a temporary permit to figure out what they can do. You know, folks, it's a hard question. Again, Commissioner Ahern made up a great point. It's not that we don't have compassion, but when you have compassion for this person, you don't have compassion for that person living next to something that's very egregious. I got calls this week over one that's terrible. It's right in front of this person's home. It's affecting their quality of life. The home that they built, the home that they manicure and keep up. We're affecting that person by allowing someone to live in a camper in front of them that's not hooked up. It's just, I think Mr. McKinney made the point, homeless would be better on this particular instance. So my thing is to throw out, we need to discuss our next move. Do we allow a permit situation where we create some form to allow folks a temporary status for whatever it may be? Whether it be recreation, whether it be for a resident, until they can find better accommodations.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Reeves.
If they've got the hookups, if they've got the sewer, I don't see the problem. My problem is this raw sewage running on top of the ground. That is a health department issue that's doing nothing. Show me something they've done. They're doing nothing. They've got septic tanks that will eliminate your sewage on top of the ground. If they don't have septic tanks, they won't live in that camper, you can't do it. You gotta have rules they gotta go by. Put you in a septic tank. I don't care if they got electricity or not. That's not the problem. Electricity's not gonna cause the place to stink. Sewage is.
And that would affect other people.
That's right, that'll affect you other people.
Chairman Long.
Mr. Walker. I'd like to make a motion that we accept our building codes as they are. Campers are not allowed to be livable dwellings in Hamblen County. That's what our building codes is, if I'm correct, Tom? That's how, and that's been in effect for how long?
The camper situation is, it doesn't fit in
The building code.
themselves. There's
Right.
no foundation there, they've not been built to the 2018 codes that have been adopted by this body.
Right. So we've already have this in place. We just need to figure out how we're going to enforce, who's going to enforce, and how we're going to deal with those that are already in these situations. It's no different if I build a house and I don't go and get a building permit. It's not allowed. They've done the same thing. They've moved a dwelling in to live in without getting permission from our county. We have them putting more than multiple ones on one residence, which we don't allow multiple dwellings on one lot. If we're allowing 3 and 4 trailers on one lot, well, we got 3 or 4 homes on one lot. I mean, we've already got something in place. We just need to define what a recreational vehicle is, and then define how we're going to enforce it. I mean, we need to mail them a letter. We need to give them adequate time to rectify the situation? Is that 3 months? Is that 6 months? But the people that are living in campers and dumping their waste on the ground shouldn't be allowed to continue doing that. And our health department doesn't do it because it doesn't fall under the health department anymore. It falls under the state environment. If they can't get anything forced, then how do we rectify and get these problems solved for people? The only way we can do it as a body is to enforce the rules that we already have in place. And that's what I'm asking, to make that resolution that we accept our building codes as they are. And then we'll worry about how we're going to continue on to fix the rest of it.
Okay, Mr. Walker has made a motion that we accept the regulations, codes that we have now. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Huntsman. Is there any discussion? Mr. Neesmith.
I make an amendment to his motion that we go back through the building codes and change them where you can live in a camper if you got all the necessary sewer that you can have it. That planning can't change that. It can be changed through planning to add this, that you can live if you're up to codes where they've got to have a septic tank. A lot of that is going to be eliminated because when they go dropping $2,000 and $3,000 for a septic tank, they're going to go somewhere else and live. Septic tanks are not cheap.
I'll second it.
That's my amendment.
Motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second, so we'll need to
Discuss the amendment.
the amendment. So any discussion on that?
Mr. Long.
No, discuss.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. First thing I was thinking about that, most people that are building a home, where you have a trailer, you're waiting on a trailer to build your home. So the first thing you do when you build a home, you do a septic tank. Generally, the first thing you do, decide where it's at there and tie into it. I wouldn't think that should be much problem. You may have to take a, say, 3-month period to decide to get it dug, but it looks like it wouldn't be hard to tie into a septic tank. And then when you build a home, you're going to build a home, you have a septic tank anyway. So I would think that wouldn't be a problem. But the problem I do see is to see a homeless person come in there and they got a trailer there close to a nice person doing it just because it's a camper, and they tie into a septic tank somehow or another like that, like you said, do that. But I don't think that would be a cool thing to do. And if I was in a neighborhood and someone next door to me did that thing, and he said, I can stay as long as I want to stay then because I've got a septic tank and I got hooked up there, and I don't think that's right either. You know?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
You know, according to Mr. Neesmith's motion there, or amendment to the motion, the problem that we would have is our zoning. If we allow campers, then what zone are they going in? Currently, we only allow single-wide mobile homes in A1. If we were to create campers, what zone are they going to live in? We make single-wide mobile homes go in A1. They have to meet stringent permitting, meet all this, you know, if you do this, what are we going to tell these others? What are we going to tell the others that already have single-wide mobile homes that we've told them you can't unless you're in A1?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, what we're doing, I'm not against what Mr. Neesmith is saying. I understand it's easy on paper, but when you go out into the field and someone's wanting to put a camper in R2, are you going to allow that? You're going to allow them in the neighborhood. You're going to allow them to do this right next. You see what I'm saying? We create another mess by going outside of A1. We have zoning in our county for a reason, and it's to protect what we have.
We're doing I know people that's got houses in the city limits of Marshtown that set up campers in their backyard and had electricity put in them and water and sewer. For like their grandkids come to visit them, they got a place to stay, or their son moves in here and looking for a house, he's got a place to stay. It's going on right now.
We don't police the world. I'm just saying what we're doing. And I have problems in my district, actually, where it's egregious. We have some situations that's got to be cleaned up in some way.
Any other discussion?
This is a question for the county attorney and Tom. We have codes and building permit requirements already, and we have adopted those as a body for both zoning regulations and building, state level building permits and codes and enforcements and all that. So if we go and allow a structure does not have permanent foundation, power, water, sewer, and a permanent address for 911, I mean, we're going against everything we've already set up, in my opinion. I agree with the fact that if we're going to build a house and we need a temporary place to permit, or temporary place to live, we've already got a vehicle to do that with a permit. Okay, so I think it's not an easy task, but I think we're creating a monster here by trying to donut hole, if you will, additional policies. So, you know, we've already established policy and procedure. We just need a vehicle now to enforce what we have. And that's my opinion. That's all I have.
Mr. Naismith?
That's a problem now. We've got these campers out there that people are living in them. And I walked in the backyard of one when the last election. The guy's got 3 campers tied onto his mobile home. And I walked out in the backyard and I got sewage on my feet, on my shoes. That's what, if that was all cleaned up, we wouldn't be going through this. If his neighbor across the road from it, if he had a septic system in there and that sewage wasn't running out all over the place, we wouldn't be bringing this up.
Any other discussion?
Rodney. And that's why we don't need to accept it, because when we say we don't accept it, period, we don't run into that issue. Okay? When we say we're accepting, and it's already in our building codes. If you're building a house, you're allowed to stay in a camper while your house is being built for a short period of time, correct? You already have a 911 address when you build that lot. First thing you have to get before they will come even out to inspect your land to get a perk permit to get a septic tank. You got to have the 911 address. First thing they ask you for when you go apply for your permit. You already have that. Most people that are building a house already have a meter there because they have to have it to build their house. Same way with water. They already get the water in it. They've already got the sewer. If we have to adjust that to say that the septic and the sewer and the water has to be hooked up first before you can live in your camper on that lot, then that's something we can do. But the problem is, for everyone that we say that's going to hook this up the right way, how many do we have out there hooked up the wrong way? And Tommy can tell you that. Yes, we have people out there in Hamblen County that have put septic tanks in, have put water in, have put electrical pole, and put a nice, beautiful camper on their lot. But I also know people that have came to this commission meeting and said they did the right thing. They called our county first and said, can I live in a camper? And the county told them, no, it's against our building codes. So what did they do? They went another avenue. They either bought a mobile home, bought a house, or did something else. We're letting the people that did not follow the rules make the decision when we say, let's let them live into it. And just like Chris said, where do we put them? I can buy a lot, $15,000 in a subdivision, and we're telling them they can put a camper in that subdivision when we say we allow campers. But I can't go out and buy a $50,000 single wide trailer and put it on that same residential lot. Even though I'm going to put it on a foundation, I'm going to have water, sewer, and electricity and everything else. How is that fair? That I can put a $1,000 camper on that lot, but I can't put a trailer on it. But if I buy a double wide trailer, I can put it in that residential lot. That doesn't make sense. We have a building code for a reason. We need to stay with our building codes as it is and move on.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is anybody else? We have a first and we have a second
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
I'd like to ask Steve a question. How long is that person across the road
Mr.
from you
Neesmith?
have been in that camper?
I don't have anybody across the road
I
from
mean, the
me.
one you're talking about, the lady that lives in it, has bad sewer and everything around it. How long have they been?
There's-
Mr. Neesmith, we have.
Four different ones
We have
in
a
our
motion and a
neighborhood.
second on the floor. We need to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
What are we voting on, Rodney? first?
Amendment.
On the amendment,
On the amendment, okay.
Would you restate the amendment, please, sir?
restate the amendment, Mr. Neesmith.
That a camper can be used if it's up to the code for septic systems. And make it through planning commission that they can do it. That would include motor homes and campers.
Rooms and camp. We have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Opposed?
No. Motion fails.
Back to your original motion.
Go back to the original motion. We have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 You might want to do roll call.
Do roll call.
Can you restate?
Restate the motion that you made.
That we accept the building codes as they are in effect right now, that campers are not allowed as a permanent dwelling in Hamblen County.
Why do we have to vote on that if it's already a law?
I guess it would, if I may, it's just a reiteration that we support that. I mean, you're right. Why do we have to?
And we just need to enforce it
Motion,
and give Tommy an avenue and a chance to.
Let me tell you a little bit, some of you may or may not know, we adopted the International Building Code in 2018. And the reason a camper would be illegal is, as you all have stated, it's not on a foundation, among other things, it's not inspected. We've always said that tiny homes are not acceptable because they're not inspected by an engineer and not approved, don't have a serial plate on them. Okay? Another reason for International Building Code is to preserve the integrity of our subdivisions and everything else and of our buildings. But another reason is for the safety, not only of the people who might be living in a substandard housing, a camper, but people around them. You know, we know that campers burn very, very rapidly, and that's part of an issue. What liability might the county have in that situation? That's concerning. So I think that, you know, my opinion is you do have the law in place. It is somewhat difficult to enforce it because It is an exclusionary prohibition as opposed to a direct prohibition. It is prohibited because it's excluded because it doesn't have a foundation and it's not inspected for wiring and plumbing, insulation, and all those things. I don't think we want to amend it to make it particularly specific. We've got the law in place, but somehow, some way, you guys and ladies have got to figure out how to make it enforceable. It has been somewhat difficult to enforce because it is just an exclusionary law. It doesn't directly prohibit. So I'll leave you with that.
So how do we make it enforceable?
It is enforceable. Commissioner Walker, it's enforceable. It is just, has been a little difficult with our general sessions court. You've already experienced some difficulty with
Right.
other general sessions courts.
So could we enforce it and take it out of that as we do with the bulk waste? Where Tommy could enforce it, start it off, send him a letter, warning, or how do we?
I think you've got to put something like that in process, in place. I think the idea that you have a sundown or sundown statement to them, hey, this is going to be enforced and you're going to have X number of days or months to find something else. I mean, you can't just say, hey.
I agree with that. We have to give them time to rectify the
And then that's your old deal. And I think it would be a good idea to pull it out and make it an enforceable process, just like we have the bulk waste property maintenance ordinance.
Okay, Mr. Walker, can you amend your motion to affirm the regulations and the codes that we have on the book now?
Can we, that's what I was going to ask. So could I amend my motion to say that we accept the building code? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I removed that motion and restate a new motion.
Okay, so amend to,
Just your second, and we just take that off the table.
okay, so I
That motion.
ask to take my motion off the table?
Yes, the second was Mr. Richardson, was it, or?
Yes.
Joe?
It was Mr. Huntsman on that.
Okay. I'll just remove mine too.
Okay. So now I'm making a new motion. Is that correct? Okay. That we accept the codes, building codes as they are, and we leave the enforcement to our code enforcement officer to handle the enforcement. Is that the way we want to word it?
I don't think that we need to put that in there. We need to state, we're going to accept the regulations that we've got now. Then we'll have to address,
Okay.
At a later
the
time,
issues.
affirm the fact that we have the building codes in place. Is that
You
just
have the
affirmation?
code in place that
Yeah.
allows you to enforce.
We're just acknowledging or affirming that we have codes in place.
So I'm making a motion that you got me confused here.
Affirm that
We affirm
we have building codes in
the
place.
building codes that we have present.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
One no. I don't think that we have time to start into the issues that we'll have to deal with. Some new issues that we'll have to deal with. I think at this time that we would probably come back at another meeting and address the enforcement and the thing. Yeah, that's,
I would agree that we could close with that and everybody go home with the thought, what's the next step now?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody good?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Chairman Long. We'll now move into the Bulk Waste Committee, and Chairman Horner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the Bulk Waste Study Committee to order. Anyone wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. You'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, 3A.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
No, I still am waiting to see a stamp or some type of attachment on our garbage cans. There are still people, kind of like the wheel tax, that don't know what's going on. And yes, they get a notice, and then they hopefully, and I think they have been correcting, but still so many people don't know. And the sign or decal on the garbage can is just, to me, it's a no-brainer, because I see my garbage can every week, or Ronnie does. And there's that reminder every single week. And so it's so much better than a one-time letter or a one-time advertisement in the newspaper. It goes to every residence that has a garbage can, which is virtually everybody in Hamblen County, other than those that might be served by a dumpster or something like that. So when are we going to do that? Here we're talking about letting people know things and enforcing regulations. People need to know what the regulations are. And that is the obvious way to let them know what the garbage and or bulk waste, construction waste rules are. So I would like you to go on and do that, please, so people aren't just left finding out when they get a notice, oh, you violated, and they're thinking, what did I violate? I'm doing what I've always done. They need to know how the regulations have been changed, and they need that every week reminder, not a once in a while in a newspaper. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address?
Mr. Horner, on the street I live on, there's 9 houses. My house is the only one that knows we've got this ordinance. If you take a poll on the people in the commission here, has everybody got a letter in the mail?
No.
Has everybody got a stamp on the garbage can?
No.
I don't believe it. If you hadn't been here, you wouldn't have known this, that this is going through. I don't think the word's getting out to me. I got people that's called me and said, I got a thing that says $50 fine. I didn't know this was coming on. So, and I know them, I'd say they haven't. Because 8 other people on my road didn't get it. I didn't get one, but I knew it was coming on. I don't think the word's got out there yet.
Anyone else?
Chairman Horner, I'd like to resound the same thing that Commissioner Eden Eastman's saying. We had this discussion at church the other night. All I've seen is 2 ads in the paper, and they weren't that readable. They weren't that clear, for one thing. For another thing, did we not have another way of notifying people? Because so many people do not take the Tribune. We wouldn't take it if it wasn't for business. So my question is, how else were we supposed to get that message out to folks?
If you'll hang on a second, you'll find out.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Kyle, did you get a letter?
Yes, I did.
You got a letter. That's the only one I know. Did you get one, Bob?
No one else? Item
We
4A,
didn't get one. Did you get one?
bulk
Sam?
waste policy and procedures update. Tommy?
I guess there's spots sending them out.
Mail delivery.
It's in the mail. It's in the mail.
Yes, sir.
We have seen some positive results. 5 weeks I've been doing reports and sending letters and talking to people on the phone, answering people are utilizing the hotline as well, so that's a plus. in the interest of confidentiality, Trish and I decided that I wasn't going to put one of these in your all's packet because there are names and addresses and things on this. I keep a report in Excel of the letters that I've sent out. In the past 5 weeks, I've sent out 101 letters. On this page right here, if it's purple, it's still open, but if it's green and white, then they're in compliance. So far in the past 5 weeks, we have some very, very positive results. These right here are basically, this page right here, they haven't even had their letter long enough for me to even go back and check on them, okay, to kind of summarize that. We have an 80%, 64 complaints, I've got 80% that are in compliance. That's 64 places that these guys aren't going to have to stop and get out of their truck and pick up the trash. I think I hadn't heard Tim actually say this, but I have heard Commissioner Horner say that he has seen some positive results. Really kind of before we ever even really got started, it started looking a lot better. So I honestly feel that the people in Hamblen County most of them are kind of tired of looking at what they've had to look at here lately anyway. And it's very, very positive that this is going the way it's going. And this is just getting started. And I think, and the mayor's going to, talk about a few things here too. But once the word does get out there farther, I can see a lot of great things happen. But when you've got 64 in 5 weeks, 64 places that our guys aren't going to have to stop and pick up, that's a big plus. I mean, it really, really is. That's tax savings for gasoline for the vehicles. These guys not being behind, getting phone calls, when are you going to come and pick up my stuff? So I'm just really happy that the way things are going. So, Commissioner Neesmith.
How these reports you're getting, is that from because they're separating their construction waste from their garbage, from their brush?
Right. There is 4 of these 64 that they actually had to segregate their trash.
Separate trash.
Yes, sir. And they done that. And as a matter of fact, there was 2 of these 4 that they just left the brush and hauled the trash off. Okay. So I've had phone call, hey, I got it separated, tell them to come out and pick it up, that kind of thing. So that's been.
So basically, once they separate it, you still got to go back and pick up the household trash.
Yeah.
So you got to go
the household trash.
You got to go back and pick up the brush, and you got to go back and pick. You still got to go pick all 3 of them up.
But that's just 4 of the 64. The rest of them, they cleaned it completely up.
Okay.
Chairman Horner.
Yes, sir.
Tommy, could you please remind everyone your sequence? When you get the violation or you hear could you please remind everyone your steps that you take?
The highway department, his guys fill out a small paper telling me exactly where the location is, and they have a little checklist what they check off as the issue there. We call it illegal waste or waste that's supposed to be in the can or hauled off. We call brush, there's just different things that they check off. I take that and I will go out and make an assessment of them, make photographs, and then I come back in and do a complete report. I have the address, I print off the tax card, I keep everything together because this report might go to court. So I have each and every letter has a complete report. So if this one goes to court, I've got everything already there together. Okay, when I get the report done, I type up a letter, and it's a generic letter. I've got generic letters for each. I set one up for each type, construction waste, blah, blah, blah. Then they get a letter explaining what the issue is, plus they get a complete copy of our bulk waste regulation. That 2-page regulation that you guys approved. They get a copy of it, and I highlight what part of the regulation that they are in, they're not in compliance with. Then, in the letter, it states, if they have a hardship and they're not able to do, to get their bulk waste in a certain period of time, 10 days, I make it 2 weeks, that's 10 working days. I give them a number, which is my office cell phone number. I give them that number to call, and I can just make it a note on the report that it's going to be a couple of weeks. I can't get a truck. My grandson's going to come and help me with it. I work with them like that, give them that time, mark it down on the report. So basically, that's what it is. I don't have anything right now. I have one, this one right here, that may end up being a fine. This is the very first of the report right here. So this one's about 3 weeks old. So, but I mean, it's pretty positive.
Good. Have you got a copy of the letter that the people have got, supposed to have gotten?
Yeah, I have all those. It's like I say, it's a generic letter, but each one of them has like a different statement as to what they're.
I mean, letters that went out in the mail and so people will know what these rules are. Do you have that letter? You got one, Bobby?
You only get the letter if you're in violation, right?
Right.
Oh, you don't, so they don't know it till they're in violation.
Right.
Unless you're doing
But
something
they've
wrong.
got 10 days
Don't know
to
in
correct.
advance.
No,
I
understand.
think
Mr.
Wayne's
Neesmith
asking about the
is
letters we sent
talking
out.
about the letter that you send out.
The information letter.
The information letter,
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
sorry.
never, if
I'm
I
sorry.
could get a copy of that, I'd run 8 or 10 copies and pass those out to people that tell me they didn't get a letter. That might be spreading the word a little better.
Anyone else?
I just want to say, Tommy, I think at 80% being resolved in this short period of time, I think what you're doing is very accomplished. I mean, I think if we could get 80% on a lot of things, we would all take it. I mean, if my kids come home with 80% on their grade card, we're tickled to death. I mean, 80% is a good average, and I think you're doing a great job of getting that information out. I do agree that there are people that don't know it, but again, we're gonna have that with everything because it's gonna fall through the cracks, like you said. Some people don't get the newspaper, some people don't listen to the radio, some people didn't get it in their mail. It's possible. But again, that's why you're giving them the 10 days to fix it. And you're also giving them the opportunity, they can call you and say, I need a little more time. So we're not saying your fine starts today when you get your letter. We're saying if you don't do anything in 2 weeks, that's when we start, it becomes an issue, correct?
How much construction are you running into, like somebody tears down
I'd say 50%.
50% is construction?
That's probably a conservative.
So the construction people are responsible for picking this up and getting this out?
Well, basically what it is, it's by the time that I send the letter out, it's the homeowner because
He done gone.
He's
left.
Yeah.
I would just add, I appreciate what you're doing. And the mayor is behind you, and he's got, will share what we've been
We
doing.
had planned on updating you on the public information campaign. Here's just a few things that we've come up with. And here's the yard sign that the sanitation department will use and to notify. And again, I think, how that is used will depend on, it may just be used for those who aren't responding after the 2 weeks. That's something that has to be determined, but that's the sign that we'll use. It'll just be a regular yard sign. Here's the garbage cart sticker. It's a 7x7 sticker, and we've already we placed the order for them. And so it talks about putting your household waste in the garbage cart, and then these certain items that do not place in the cart. So that's and that was compiled through input with the sanitation department. Here is the front of the postcard that will go out. It'll go out to everybody that's on the sanitation rolls, and this is the front talking about what you can and cannot put at the road, and it talks specifically about contractor waste, construction waste, talks about renters and landlords, and that they're responsible for removing those materials, and also debris resulting from fires. And there's the back of the postcard. It talks about the enforcement, and it has the complaint hotline number on there, and talks about the fine as well. And so everybody on the routes will get a postcard, and we'll also have the sticker on their garbage cart. Here's a rack card, the front and back of a rack card talking about construction waste that'll be on the counters here at the courthouse. And used it, Marshtown Hamblen, Keep America Beautiful will use these at public events, and so these are the rack cards that'll be used. It has a whole list of examples of construction waste items that we will not pick up. Here's just some digital items that will be used on Facebook and other postings, just talking about separating bulk waste and brush, and household garbage and construction waste will no longer be picked up. So these are all samples of what we'll be using in digital format. You've already seen the newspaper ads that have been the last couple of weeks, and then the stickers are ordered, and so we're making progress, and Word will continue to communicate. So any questions?
They've not gone out yet, but they're fixing to go out, right?
Probably in the next month. Yes.
These been printed yet?
So they've not gone out yet.
Which ones?
Digital
What I
images.
thought.
If you've sent them out on...
No, we can change those.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Yes.
When it says separate bulk waste and brush from household garbage, will they understand that the bulk waste and the brush has to be separated too? Or will they pile the bulk waste and brush together away from the household garbage?
Good point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, will they understand the bulk waste and brush has to be separated too?
Like bullet point 1, separate bulk waste and brush. Bullet point 2 cannot be
Put it in there with
combined
brush.
with household.
Yeah, that can be changed. That's easy.
I just,
That's a good point.
Bill, but we've already sent out once already. Have we not sent something out? Mailers? We haven't?
It's in the paper.
We did, however,
Postcards, no, not yet.
we did, however, at the East-West ball game, we had a video that played numerous times in
Yeah,
front of
I remember that.
6,000, 7,000 people.
I thought something came out in the mail. Okay.
Sent them yet.
Yeah.
We'll talk some more about it.
Just a bulletproof. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Horner, and we will now move into calendar and rules, and also Vice Chair, Chairman Horner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the Calendar and Rules Committee to order. If there's anyone wishing to address this committee, may do so at this time. Seeing none, item 3A, there's no old business. Item 4A, review of the regular calendar items.
Chairman Horner, or Vice Chair Horner, we need to add RV camper study. Let's go to that vote. What number? Let's see, where are we gonna put that? 11, 10. We need to move everything down. It looks to me like we'll make item number 11, RV camper committee, Camper Study Committee, we'll add the motion that we had to affirm that we accept the 2018 International Building Codes. Move everything else down. Item 11A will be a vote to affirm that we accept the International Building Codes of 2018 that the county has already adopted. We affirm it.
Do we need a motion on that?
Well, we'll need a motion and a second on this
To add.
to add that regular calendar item.
Do I hear a motion to accept? Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, motion passes to the add. So, go back to the 4A.
B.
4B, review of the consent calendar items, and I'll need a motion on that.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? See none. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, just your opinion, item 5, the items of interest, the Medical Services Board of Directors meeting, there's no action for that, is there? Yeah, just information. Yeah. I think that concludes our business tonight. Everybody good? We are adjourned.